show that concerted face of Woodbury County, and the other is if you have questions we can't answer, we can punt to them. So my name is Matthew Ung. I'm currently the chairman of the Woodbury County Board of Supervisors.
Jeremy Taylor, Vice Chair.
Keith Raddick on the Woodbury Board.
Rocky DeWitt, District 5.
Mr. Mayor, do you have any members of your council here?
I see Michael Booth's back there in the corner. Kathy Joel is over here. Want to stand up, Kathy? Oh yeah, who is Michael Chops Perry and Kevin Frank.
Do we have Brooke Captain here?
Yes.
Yes, thank you for helping to coordinate this. And you know, the clerk is really an important person in these towns, so thank you. We like to go around and introduce our elected officials and our county employees, so you know if there's a question you'd like to get with them with afterwards, you certainly can. Treasurer.
Mike Clayton, I'm your evil tax collector. Thank you all for sending in your tax payments if you did. If not, sorry about that. In case you don't know, the tax office that used to be in courthouse is now moved up the street to 822 Douglas, which I know you guys don't care about that because you just go to Danbury and take care of all your business up there, and we appreciate that. So if you don't want to go there, you can do it online, so we'll make it as easy as we can for you. So thank you.
My name is Rick Schneider. I'm the director for the County Conservation Board. We run the county park system, and our office is located at the North Topeka Nature Center in Stone State Park in City.
I'm Rebecca Sopnot, Woodbury County Emergency Management Coordinator. My office is at the Security Institute up at WIT, where the Emergency Operations Center is located. And I'm responsible for more or less all the plans for anything that's not supposed to happen.
Kevin Green, Director of School District Health Department, the Public Health Agency for Woodbury County. We do many things like the WIC program, immunizations, we do some of the school audits. Just the last 5 to 6 years, we've worked in with some of the communities and looking at the watching news media. Mobile and Lot received the MERD funding for the community trails that they're looking at because we want to encourage the physical activity in that because it really helps with the health and wellness of residents.
Julie Conley, I'm the Woodbury County Assessor. We appraise all the property for Woodbury County, and we are located on the 7th floor of the courthouse.
I'm Mark Merrill, Woodbury County Engineer. We take care of 1,340 miles of county roads, 300 bridges. Our office is out of Mobile, and it's the old Connie Ford building that's been out since 2009. We are divided into 4 districts. You all are served by our District 4 Odos.
I'm Gary Brown, I'm the Director of Emergency Services. My office is in Piney Hill. I'm in charge of the group of people you see running around the county with white trucks and red lights on them. We respond to about 1,200 requests for services a year, alongside your volunteer fire, EMS, and law enforcement.
Dave Drew, Sheriff, Woodbury County. We have a 2080 with your town. It's, I think, checking with your council and your mayor, I'm very satisfied. It's one of the things I guess I'm probably most proud of is that we have this agreement to police Danbury instead of just showing up when there's an issue. So we're here quite a bit, and I'm grateful for it. Thanks.
Mayor, go ahead. They're doing introductions.
Dale Erickson, Mayor Lawton.
David Gleiser, Woodbury County Rural Economic Development Department, newly appointed Community and Economic Development Department Director. For the last 3.5, almost 4 years, I've served in the capacity to help all parts of Woodbury County outside of the city on economic and community development projects. My office is in the county courthouse.
I'm Pat Gill. I'm the county auditor. I run the elections in the county. That's probably where you all run across me before. But we pay all the bills for the county, and we do the payroll for the county. We're only one of 2 counties where the recorder's office and the auditor's office is merged. So on the recorder's side, wherever you record any of your deeds for real estate transaction, those sorts of things, we take care of that. Also, the marriage, birth, and death records are in that office across the hallway at the recorder's office. So that's what we do in a nutshell. Thanks for having us.
Anybody else with Team Woodbury County? Oh, okay, well then, I'd like to get started with, you know, the reason we're here is to you know, come out and visit with you, get your feedback. We'll have plenty of time for that. But I want to give sort of an update first. I will say this is one of the, you know, favorite parts of my job is coming out here. Typically, when you have, you know, county board meetings in Sioux City, a lot of people show up because they disagree with something on the agenda. That's just, you know, a fact of life. People don't show up to say they're happy. But when we come out and meet with people and we actually get, you know, some input, you know, see how things are going in this region, then it's very helpful. And so we focus more upon on regional meetings. You know, last couple of years we met in every single rural town. And this year we really want to focus on bringing some of our department heads out, giving them some chance to talk to you about what's going on in roads, what's going on in conservation, in areas that, you know, directly impact you. And you know, it's very, you know, a special feeling to come out to Danbury personally, just because I know that you know more than any other, you know, other town that the county seat is not very close to you. It's on the other side of the county. You know, a lot of counties have that in the middle, and that's, you know, one of the reasons why it's so important for us to do these things is to get out. I remember, you know, being in your parade, you know, campaign a couple of years ago. Most people were actually in Monona County that, you know, said, no thanks, I don't want your postcard. Not because I don't like you, but because we're from a different county. So we realized that dynamic here, and we want to help in whatever way we can and get some, you know, some of your feedback. So, as chair, I've got some perspective over the last several months, you know, and I would say that, you know, our board has done a, you know, generally good job. Four of us are here today, and we try to get, you know, at least the majority of us out here so we can, you know, act on any concerns that you have. In the last couple of years, I'd say that there's been potentially an identifiable block, or, you know, an expectation of who's going to vote how on the county board. And I would just say that, you know, as the youngest supervisor and the longest tenured in Woodbury County, we have a new board. We have, all those seats have been refreshed, and the fact of the matter is that's, you know, your decision. And so we have a lot of different issues that I've noticed. You know, I've allied with different supervisors on different things, and all of us can say that. So I bring that up because if you have a concern, I think you can rest assured that one of us will advocate for you, and there's really a youthful perspective on this board, even though our ages range considerably. So.
Not that much. Youthful indiscretion, how about that?
Looks like
sounds like
you gotta have some of that fun while you're still young. So obviously, when we think about what the county board's doing, we operate on a fiscal year, but we're in operation all throughout the year. And so, if I could say some important facts about the FY18 tax rate and our budget, I like to point out this fact that from FY15 to 18, Woodbury County's gone from second highest tax rate to sixth highest tax rate when compared to the 26 surrounding Iowa counties within a 100-mile radius. So we've made improvements. We're also a property poor county, so it's considerably harder for us to move in that direction with any meaningful influence. And I think that we've set a good precedent of lowering those tax rates for 3 years in a row. That's relatively unprecedented. I hope to do it again. We've done so through reorganization. All the supervisors have pitched in ideas. We've done so through advanced CIP planning. We want to budget things on the appropriate 5 or 10 year payback schedule instead of doing crisis planning and fixes. We do have a lot of obstacles coming up with our needs assessment for our courthouse, different infrastructure issues. We have of course, a major jail expansion and modernization project that's a multi-year effort that we're actually having to, as Supervisor Taylor said, pump the brakes on so that we can make sure that we have the appropriate staff in place, we have the appropriate measures in place before we expand. And that's important because we want our tax rates to show a steady decline instead of an up and down stock market sort of a feel, so that businesses feel like they are stable and secure and expanding here and doing their work here. I'd also bring up that I think it's admirable that our board did set aside $300,000 of our gaming revenues. Those are discretionary funds, not for pet projects, but we used them to offset taxes in the last fiscal year. Another thing that is relevant to the rural area is we're at our last year. We are completing our 5-year special project bridge levy. The promise made was that it would not be renewed, and so it will not be renewed. And so this will result in a roughly a $1.3 million tax decrease and a $1.20% reduction in the levy of the rural rates. So that's good news. That's something that the county has kept its commitment on, and I think that that saying that once taxes go up they never come back down, that's not going to be true here. Local government can do good work if they listen to their constituents. And I would also point out that what we did in the most recent year was without any sort of reassessment. So that means that there was no reliance on increased property values to decrease the tax rates as we did. In fact, the actual expenditures of the county went down by over $2 million. So we want to prioritize the right things. We want to utilize budgeting that's based upon performance, that's based upon metrics. And so I think a lot of that has been done. There's obviously still work to do, but I'm really proud of our board. I think our other board members will state some of those areas of progress they've had a lot of input into. And I'd also like to say that another unconventional thing we did in our last budget year was to set aside over $500,000 in funds to offset future tax increases. We put those into our reserves. Typically the reserves are on autopilot. They simply gain money if you don't spend what you say you're going to spend, or they go down when you spend too much. But we proactively saw that we want to reduce taxes the next year as well. So we're going to we're going to increase our reserve capacity balance from roughly 18 to roughly 20% in 1 year, and our budget analyst tells me that's never been done. But that's something you got to do if you want to give that expectation of steady decreases, because as we all know, we'll have CF Industries come in on a stair-step schedule over the next 20 years with steadily increasing revenue for the county. And we have in the past committed, and we will honor that commitment, to set aside half of those revenues for tax relief and devote the rest to infrastructure, which of course is another item we'll talk about later tonight with our comprehensive planning. The county is funded. We want to make sure that when we have local option sales tax dollars set aside for economic development, that they're used in a way that leverages other funds. And then also, of course, I pride myself on the expansion and use and transparency of committee work. A lot of the committee work that the county has done has produced results. They all have minutes you can look at online. We're doing everything from reviewing policies to planning for the centennial of the courthouse. When we have committees, we have the opportunity to have more leadership from supervisors in those areas. So with the historical committee that deals with energy, some energy improvements, but also historical preservation and then planning, we have Supervisor Taylor that chairs that committee and has a leadership role there. So we all have areas that I think the workload's been spread pretty well this year. that's one of the responsibilities that you have as chair is to find those areas where supervisors will be able to lead in that committee work. And so I'm not going to drone on anymore, but I'll open it up to other supervisors if you have any other updates.
I just echo what Supervisor or Chairman Ung said, and just wanted to give a little caveat up front. My wife is due tomorrow with our 6th child, so I may be looking at the phone from time to time, but it's not because I'm uninterested. Just want to make sure I don't miss that call, because I have a feeling if I miss that call, the locks might be changed when I come home. So I just echo what Matthew was relating to as far as really trying to take our budget and look at it in terms of like our family budget. Where can we have the most efficiency and cut out some of the waste? As alluded to earlier, we combined a couple of departments with economic development and our planning and zoning. We're excited about David Gleiser and his work there and taking that role on. Also want to talk a little bit about energy waste. As you may know, we became the first all LED lit county of all of our county buildings. They're all lit that way now. That's going to have paid for itself in about the next 14 months. So after rebates, which really funded about half the project, we won't have really paid for anything after just about a little more than a year's time. We actually took almost $68,000 of your tax dollars less because we're going to spend less on the energy side. So whether it's reorganization of personnel or whether it's looking at perhaps a $20 to $25 million jail that we're not going to do because we're going to take money that was once wasted at Prairie Hills. We're no longer using that building, and that would have been about $1.2 million in waste over 10 years' time. We're going to put that into helping give the sheriff a good facility that was originally built in 1987 for 90 inmates. Do you know what the capacity is now? 234. So we're trying to, in every way, maximize the space that we have, but do so in an efficient way that obviates a bigger project and the necessity of one. So I'm excited the work that we're doing. I think collaboratively we work as a team, and I'm honored to be beside these gentlemen and other elected officials. So thanks for having us tonight.
Jeremy, I wanted to thank you. You know, I've got 4 kids, so now I'm not considered the weirdo with the big family.
If we can find out what's causing it.
Somebody get him a TV. I guess, yeah, these guys have kind of said everything, you know, as far as updates from us. You know, I really come to these things because I'm really excited to hear what you guys have as concerns. You know, the county has some pretty major challenges coming up. Obviously, the jail is a pretty expensive major challenge. Not only that, but then we had the staffing study that suggests, well, if you're going to do this and you got to categorize these people, you need this many more jailers working. You know, each person you add costs more money, and that's every single year. You got to pay for that person every single year. You just can't let them go the next year. And you know, if you get a staffing study that says you have to add employees, and you don't do it, and something happens at your jail, and they sue you for it, they can go right to your staffing study and say, you know, hey, you guys were understaffed and you knew it and you didn't fund it. So, you know, you're kind of in a position after something like that that you have to look at some way of filling those positions. So, you know, obviously we got a challenge there, and I used to be on the council in Sioux City, and I always saw something as kind of writing on the wall. You know, the first year on council, the fire chief asked if he could get me to support having the fire department take over paramedics in Sioux City. I said, you know, let me look into it, and I looked into it, and I thought it was a terrible idea, because if you got rid of SPI, so my paramedics, you know, they service not just Sioux City, but South Sioux, North Sioux, Woodbury County, and they have agreements everywhere. Well, now SPI is going to be closing its doors, and it's going to leave, you know, a paramedic shortage, you know, running into the county and into those other cities. So that's another challenge we're going to face. All these things take money, and you know, if you're trying to keep your tax levy at the same level, well, the only way to do that is to cut somewhere else. So you know, that's a pretty major challenge. You know, we have a pretty major challenge with our mental health levy. Just, was it last night already? I don't know, it seemed like a long night. We had a pretty long discussion about leaving the Sioux Rivers mental health region. And we're gonna move forward, potentially finding another region for mental health services to partner with. So, you know, that's a big concern. Mental health is a major priority of county government. And we just want to see that those dollars are spent on mental health in the future. So.
Now, I would just like to thank my board members over the last several months. I've been the tie-breaking vote in more issues than the last couple of years. Rocky?
I'll keep it kind of short, but I was, a guy named Don Grigg kept trying to talk me into get on the Lawton City Council, and I kept telling him I thought he needed his head examined among other things, but a few people kind of encouraged me to run for this supervisor position. For the most part, so far I'm glad I did. People ask me every time, or just about every day, what do I think of the new job? And I say, some days are better than others. Some days I come out kind of bruised, but others, you know, it's a learning curve. But I've always thought that people should be involved in their government at every level, and it is. And I know Danbury, and I live between Lawton and Sioux City, and I've lived in Lawton, so I know what the small community is like. Graduated from Lawton Bronson School, but I've always thought that people should be involved in their local government as well as their national government. But so that said, it's really nice to see this amount of people here on an early fall evening. I am busier than I expected to be. I do feel kind of honored to be on the board with the youngest chairman in the state, very studious. Jeremy, likewise, very studious. He kind of he digs in. He understands what makes things tick, and if he doesn't understand them, he digs a little bit deeper. Keith is new like I am, but
best looking.
Must be a sliding scale on that. But again, like to echo these guys, exciting times. I think we've got obviously some challenges ahead of us. And the smaller communities do too, and I think Gary will speak to that with as Keith mentioned, with the Siouxland paramedics, the volunteer fire departments, volunteer paramedics, EMS services, that kind of thing out here. We got challenges as a county and as these smaller communities, we all do. So I appreciate you coming out, and I'll give it back to the chair.
Thanks. So what we want to do is talk about some of those regional updates. Mark Nera, our county engineer, if you would stand up there, be recognized, and provide maybe a 10-minute update on what's going on in this area.
Sure. One of the things that I guess I want to build on what Supervisor Ung mentioned, we had a $1.3 million per year bridge and special project levy that was placed on rural property. Fiscal year 2018 is the last year for that tax. All that money won't be spent until sometime in fiscal year 2019, but we have completed, I think our current count is now 8 of the 14 bridges, and 2 more of them are let, and 2 more of them are scheduled for letting yet in the month of November. If you look at, we have a map on my wall in my office that goes over the number of structurally deficient, functionally obsolete bridges that we have in the county. Back in 2006, we had 125 bridges in that category. As of our bridge inspections in 2016, we were down to 70. So that money plus other monies that we've been able to bring in toward bridge construction has really made an impact. When you look at our map right now in your area, from basically County Road D54 to the South County line, from Highway 31 to the East County line, we have only 1 deficient bridge left now. and I believe that one's on Taylor Avenue. It's not yet in the program, but it's one of those that's probably in that 5 to 10 year period for replacement. Currently, we're working on a bridge on 335th Street, about 5 miles straight west of town. That project will probably have its deck pour within the next week to 2 weeks. The beams are in, the substructure's done. We're anticipating that road being open before winter. That was one of those bridges that was posted less than 3 ton, basically enough to pick up a car across. And by the end of this year, it'll be carrying school buses, whatever happens to go over. We've got a letting scheduled toward the end of October for a bridge on Lee Avenue. That would be about a half mile to the west of Highway 31 between Odo and Smithland. That bridge is posted 3 tons. Our contractor who does our bridge inspections just recommended it for closure. So the money is there. It's part of that $1.3 million special bridge levy. It's a precast bridge. It'll be one they can work on through the winter. So hopefully by next spring and planning time, that will be back open in full capacity. Our biggest project in that program is the extension of County Road D50 from the intersection of L27 out to Highway 31. That project has lagged a little bit in design. We've been busy. If folks haven't noticed, we did over $6 million worth of work in the Port Neal area that was connected to the CF fertilizer plant expansion and AGP's soy oil refinery expansion. It's kind of had to put some of those projects on the back burner, but we're hoping in fiscal year, or in 2018, they'll be doing the grading on that road with paving following in 2019. We'll be trying to get out and meet with landowners from whom we need right-of-way this winter and headed towards spring letting on that project. This year, between farm to market, local funding, and federal aid funding that we brought in, we'll have a little over $6.5 million under contract from January to December. So we've really been able to get a lot of work going. Part of it is the 10-cent fuel tax increase that came along a couple of years ago. That has benefited Woodbury County to the tune of about $1.8 million. 500,000 of that has gone into our farm to market fund account. The balance is administered by the board as part of our local budget. The board and I have committed $300,000 of that extra money to improvement of the gravel road system. I don't know if you folks have noticed, but in the last 2 years we've started graveling 20 miles of roads in each of the 4 districts, so we're trying to improve 80 miles of gravel roads each year. It's not a huge improvement, it's an inch of gravel, basically. We're putting 300 tons per mile, that's about an inch of gravel over the center driving surface, but it will start to make up for some of the shortfalls we've had. Back in fiscal year 2006, which is kind of our benchmark year for bridges coincidentally as well, $900,000 bought 138,000 tons of gravel. Our summer gravel letting, we bought 87,500 tons for the same money as part of our stockpiling program. You folks have seen our stockpile here on the edge of Danbury. We have one north on L37 as well. Costs have all gone up for us just like you folks, but we are using that dime to put additional money into gravel. We're buying an additional, 24,000 tons utilizing that money and hauling it directly to the roads where it'll do us some good. The remainder is stockpiled and hauled to those roads where it needs the attention. Big project in this area for next year is going to be the extension of the concrete white topping project that we did from the edge of town to County Road L27 in 2015. We're taking that the rest of the way to Highway 31 next year. So you will see that under construction. That road will be closed for probably 4 to 6 weeks while that work is ongoing. I guess I'm open for questions if that's...
Anyone have any brief questions?
I do. And I don't know if I should direct it to you or not. I think I should admit to the chairman, but we're going to redo the bridge north of Mobile
That's correct.
to the tune of $700,000. And it's going to save, what, an eighth of a mile of driving for the people of Mobile?
Half a mile of out of distance driving.
And we got bridges in the county that we pushed on the back burner. Now, do you think that's a wise decision? I mean, and I'm just quoting the paper, was there 17 accidents, or one accident in the last 17 years?
That's correct, at the intersection to the north.
We talk about spending our money wisely, but it don't look real wisely to me. And I'm not picking on you, Mark, because I think you were the one, the deciding vote, weren't you, Chairman?
That's ours.
I just don't think that's a very wise way to spend the money. Another thing I hear, and I don't know if this is fact or not, the frontage road is Mobile up past your office.
Yes,
I understand that's a county road.
that is a county road, yes.
I think we ought to abandon that before we resurface it. Because if you resurface it, they'll annex it and take it away from you anyway.
That is not in our 5-year program at this
Oh, okay.
point
Well,
in
the
time.
rumors are that you're going to resurface that to the tune of about $900,000.
It would be reconstructed for that. That's the estimate for reconstruction with installation of storm sewer utilities and the whole 9 yards. City of Mobile has requested we consider that. It is not in the 5-year program at this point in time.
Well, right now, I'm not just picking on everybody.
Yes.
I'd like, a couple of places I'd like to thank. I'd like to thank this guy for the office in Hampton. I think they do a good job, and it's real handy
You
for
have to
everybody.
blame Noah for that.
Yeah, everybody already, I want to make sure the board knows, I think that's a great thing to keep open. Speaking from the council, the 2080 agreement with the sheriff's department has worked out real well for us.
Any other road questions? Or?
I do. I have one. L37.
Yes.
Going out of Danbury. It's in conjunction with East Street. Who is responsible of getting dead trees out of the ditch? Is that the county or?
It depends on whether they're in the county right of way or not, and whether we deem them to be an issue where we need to get them out.
Well, there's 3 that are dead. And then the ones that are still alive, it is an obstruction coming from Salisbury, that gravel road just north of, it's the, you know, it's obstructive to pull out on L37.
I guess I need to take a look at it.
Would you please? It's just kind of a eyesore that there's 3 dead trees. And, you know, for Danbury, you know.
Tree cutting is one of those jobs that we do in the winter. It offsets our snow removal. If we have a winter with no snow, we cut trees. It is not high priority work for us. If the tree hasn't fallen in the road, it's not necessarily our first job. We work with conservation sometimes on the trees that are too big for us to handle. They have a boom truck and occasionally come out and help us get them topped. What's the first mile going out of town?
Yeah, there's a stop sign there. It's
Right.
just going out of town. There's like 3 dead Austrian pines.
Okay.
And it just kind of looks
I'll try
crappy.
and look at it.
You know, if there's.
Next time I come out on the project up north. By the way, we are resurfacing the last part of L37 from Highway 20 south to D38. That project should be completed by the end of next week.
Is there one more question for the engineer?
What's the Bronson Bridge?
Bronson Bridge is it's on schedule. The contractor is pouring the bridge deck on Monday. They've got the approach pavement on the north end of the bridge done. The contractor is doing the pavement removal on the south end of the bridge, mobilized and on site. The plan is they're pouring the deck from that south end, so they're using that old pavement beating it up rather than the new one for their concrete pump. That could change before Monday, but that's the plan right now. Then they'll rip out that pavement while the bridge deck is curing, come in the following week, grade that road and put in the new pavement. So we're going to be close to the middle of October, maybe a week or two after. We've lost some rain days in the last week, if folks haven't noticed, and we may lose 2 in the next 2 days. At least we're in project phase right now where they're tying the steel on the deck. They can do that in the rain as long as there's not lightning. It's not pleasant to be holding that piece of steel when lightning's flashing around you, but the contractor has been moving and making pretty good progress on the project.
Who's the contractor?
The contractor is Christensen Brothers. Subcontractor doing the pavement is Bainbridge. I'm trying to remember the name of the grading contractor. He has to come in as well before. He's got about 3-4 days worth of work to bring that grade up. Bridge is being raised about 2.5 feet from the old elevation, and then the new bridge is 30 feet longer. It's got more opening underneath, and we don't have the individual piles to snag trees like has been done in the past. These are nice smooth piles. Well, hopefully they'll shoot down and bother somebody else. Yeah, in the 2014 flood, it was really disconcerting to go out there and see how many cut ends there were on the trees that were stuck on our bridge. I mean, we had I think it was 25 truckloads of tree, corn stalks and everything that we had to haul out of there after that flood.
All right, thanks, Mark. Sure.
I'd like to know where the funds to repair 175 come from. Are they Woodbury County funds, or are they state funds, or what?
State DOT money. That's not our road.
Okay.
Easy question, easy answer, but
I can answer that one quick. No.
Okay, but who do we talk to about getting that fixed?
175.
Yeah.
I would call the Sioux City District Engineer's Office. 712-276-1451.
Very good. I just want to mention a fun fact about the Wilmington Courthouse, as we call it, brought up, and how that's a good deal. It was actually, I believe, a leaky roof that kind of prompted some discussions of, if we're going to sustain this, how do we do that? So we decided to make sure it's titled in the right place, so our county building services can keep that up, and we can actually budget for its sustainability. So it is a good long-term piece of our infrastructure. So want to give a chance for Rick Snyder to update on conservation. Rick is going to be leaving us by the end of the year, and he's done a great job, and I want to thank you, Rick, for your work. So.
Yeah, thank you. Pleasure to be here. I wasn't able to be here last winter when you were at the first meeting down here, so I'm glad to be back here this year. I didn't say a lot when we introduced ourselves because I knew I'd have to be speaking now, but Conservation Board, we operate basically with 3 different districts as well. We've got a western district, western side of the county that has Browns Lake, Snyder Bend, and some of our other wildlife areas over there. Northeast district has Little Sioux Park and some of those areas. And the southeast district here is primarily with Oak Ridge Conservation Area, Southwood Conservation Area, Valley Forest Preserve, and those areas closer to the Danbury area here. We've got, in my department, we've got 14 full-time staff, and we use a lot of summer help. We're always looking for good summer help, 18 years and older, so if you know some kids looking for good jobs next summer, we need help at the Southwood area, so have them put in an application for some summer help. 7 of my field staff are full-time law enforcement officers as well. We work real close with the Sheriff's Department on that. Of course, our county park areas, we've got 4 developed park areas, Little Sioux Park, Southwood Conservation Area, Browns Lake, and Snyder Bend that have campgrounds, some camping cabins, some swimming beaches, shooting range, trails, a lot of different things like that. Plus Fowler Forest Preserve, as you know, has a little bit of a kind of a roadside park there with some playground equipment, a restroom, and a shelter house there, and trails. Fowler Forest Preserve is a 160-acre area, and it's connected as well to Southwood Conservation Area on the south side of that. Southwood Conservation Area is a 623-acre area. We have 19 campsites there. The area also has over 3 miles of trails. Some of those are equestrian trails. We have a lot of use from different horse clubs down there, and we have equestrian campsites as well in that park. On that trail system, if you haven't been out there, there is a suspension bridge. It's been there for, gosh, over 25 years, I guess. Kind of a neat feature on the trail system out there. Last year, we opened 2 new camping cabins down there, and they're, I probably like those 2 cabins the best. They're kind of an in-between version of the small ones we have at Little Sioux and the fancy cottage cabins we have over at Snyder Bend Park. So these are 1-bedroom units. They're fully equipped. All you need to bring is your linens and towels and food. Everything else is in there, including flat screen TV. They've done very well in their first full year of operation this year. One interesting feature in those cabins is the furniture we had constructed by a local cabinet maker out of Mapleton, Jeff Shoup. He used local red cedar lumber and created our bunk beds, the headboards, end tables, kitchen table, and benches, chairs out of redwood. It's really, really, really neat. All of our cabins, starting this past January, for reservations are online. So you can go at any time it's convenient for you to our website, click the link, take you right to where you can register up to 2 years in advance. It takes care of all that thing automatically for you, and it's ready to go when you get there. Also online are our 2 enclosed shelters, the Heritage Shelter at Little Sioux Park and the Bell Shelter at Browns Lake. Of course, Southwood's got the 2 ponds there. We recently did some improvements in that area with some launching areas and better fishing docks and boat docks along there. Hopefully that park has some potential for future expansion of campsites and maybe some other activities down there. I'm not sure what the board will decide to do. Most of that area is undeveloped and open for public hunting. The Oak Ridge Conservation Area between Odo and Smithland is a little over 2,000 acres and 4 units. That's all undeveloped. We've got, it's all open to public hunting. And this, in 2014, we have a watershed structure just west of Odo off D54 that had silted in. It was probably 50-some years old. It wasn't constructed to SCS standards, but it was pretty well built. It silted in over the years, and due to some heavy rains in 2014, that structure breached. And we took a look at that. We'd always thought about coming down, it's called Fern Creek that comes down into Odo and goes out into Oak Ridge there. It's a deep, sharp, narrow gully that we could dam up and have a really nice deep fishing pond in there. We wanted to do that close to D54 so it could be accessible. Handicapped people can just pull right into the parking lot we already have there. We can get them right down to the fishing hole there. So what we'll probably have to do, and we've had some different engineers look at that, we may have to fix up the existing one right now that can serve as a reserve pond, because right now it's head cutting back through all that silt, so that's got to be repaired, and then look at building this new fishing pond out closer to the highway right there. We've got some river access, of course, along the Little Sioux River. We've got the Paduta access north of Smithland, and the Dixon Bridge access is south of Anthony, just about a mile north of the D50 bridge there off of Highway 31. This past summer, we were able to obtain from DOT management of a 2.5-acre site just south of the D50 bridge. If you're familiar with that little area, you might have seen a lot of cars park in there that were using it anyway. Well, now it's going to be officially a public access to the river there. It's really a neat area. You can drive in there. You don't have to have any special boat ramp. The topography takes you right down on a gravel bed right out of the middle of the river when the river's low. And So it's a great access for canoers or kayakers, fishermen, or anybody in that area. That'll be known as Meyer Access. We'll have the access road improved in there this fall and the sign put up and designate the parking area there. Curtain Timber area is south of D50 and a little north of Odo on the east side of the river. We recently added 120 acres to that 90-acre area, and we're putting in a little parking lot access off 270th Street there this week, so we'll be able to get hunters safely off the road once. The only access we had before was a walk-in access off of Morgan Trail. Finally, Little Sioux Park and Shagbark Hills and Hauling Access are all up around Correctionville area. Right now we're in the process, we're looking to participate in preservation of the archaeological sites that the DOT discovered when they were working on Highway 20 there a few years ago. And in case you're interested in learning a little bit more about that, Monday night, October 16th at River Valley High School at 6:30, the DOT will be showing a short film about what they found up there, the significance of that. We've seen it a couple of times, and it's extremely interesting. Town of Correctionville hopes to be doing some sort of interpretation at their roadside park there about the cultural, prehistoric archaeological sites that are all in that area up and down the Little Sioux River. We've always had interest of trying to get an access or something on the Maple River. It's still in our county. I've never had that opportunity, so if anybody knows of one, come talk to us. But it's been a great 42, almost 43 years by the time I retire, and I'll miss it. So, thank you. Anybody have any questions? Yes,
I have a question for you. I'm Twitch, and I'm the unofficial tree guy for the city of Danbury. Do you have any advice on how to save our ash trees? Is the county going to do anything with the thousands that they must have?
We're starting to replace them now and cutting some others down as they look pretty bad. We won't put any money into treating them. That is an option, though. You can do that if you got some really beautiful specimen ones. The problem is you have to keep treating them, just like the old American elms were. So if you want to do that, give your replacement trees time to get some heights to it before you take those down or let them die. You can do that. Time will tell. I think eventually it's going to get them all. It may take a lot of years though before it moves in and gets them all.
There's a meeting in Sioux City Monday night, right? The 9th?
The 9th? Yeah.
Are you guys going to be there to?
We won't. Extension's putting that
just
on.
Extension
and I
doing
think
that?
the DNR people. You got that, Gary?
Yeah, that afternoon they're also in Ottawa.
Okay.
It's the same crew that put on a presentation that afternoon in Ottawa, and then that night out the ISU extension. That's something we requested that they bring in here. We work really good with the ISU, and they're going to bring in. They're going to talk about what the edible ash borer is and how to try to save your trees. And
if we wanted to purchase trees, does the county have assistance to purchasing more trees for our city park? Any shared fund besides Mid-American Energy?
We don't have a program like that. We use some of our own funds to buy trees every year, about 100 of them that we replace in all our park areas. So we're trying to be proactive on it that way and get away from the monocultures. You know, it's all the American elms, and green ash was the miracle tree, and now something gets that. So always something's coming around it. You may have noticed Little Sioux Park, we used to have hundreds of Scotch pine that we transplanted in there back in the 70s. They're all dead. We're cutting them all down. Same things happened to the Austrian pine that you were mentioning there too. So it's a root nematode and other things that get those, and it's wiping them out around here. So it's really hard to find something that lasts forever, but get a variety. Keep planting a variety up. Stay ahead of them.
Thank you.
Yeah, good question.
You're almost better off partnering with somebody like a Baumgars that brings trees in from somewhere and getting a better deal from them because they have a huge distribution network, and a lot of times you can actually, if you're buying in quantities, get a better price from them than you can through the Mid-American program.
Well, thank you, Mr. Snyder, for that informational update. And the rest of this meeting is kind of an open but panel discussion. Invite especially the participation of the mayors here with us. And something I do when we set up this agenda is I always call you know, the mayor and see if there's any items they'd like put on the agenda so we can be sure we talk about it. And one of those is the mayor would like to discuss potential city abandonment of a portion of the T54
4 road.
Yeah, that's something that has come up at several council meetings over the years, and I guess I'm just kind of curious as to what is the process for doing that. We're talking about you guys, the county paved the road right up to the city limits 2 years ago, I think, or something like that. And we were just kind of curious as what does it take to abandon it. You know, it's farmland on one side, city park on the other. It's not necessarily that much tax revenue, but we're wondering whether we could, how can you do that with your city limits? Can you tag around, or are we stuck with that part of the road? Our concern is there's a box culvert on it that if we ever had to replace it, we don't think we could come up with the money for it. It's in good shape now, but just kind of curious what the county thinks about that. If that's a doable thing, or?
You want me to address this one? Yeah, D54 is a farm to market extension. You guys are under 500 population, right? Right. So that is a road that's under the jurisdiction of the County Board of Supervisors. When that structure gets to the point where it's in poor condition and requiring replacement, it may qualify for city bridge funds. That's something that the city has to apply for. If you remember, we built the bridge on the west side of Bronson. That was a corporation line road between city and county shared jurisdiction. But because it was partially in the city, it was eligible for federal aid bridge funds. The city basically applied for the money and then made me their project engineer, which they brought $1 million to the table for that project there. That's the maximum you can get in a federal grant for a city. And then the county paid the match and took care of the engineering. When that culvert gets to that condition would be the time to look at it. In regard to the pavement, we did a federal aid project up to the north city limits. There's things that come along with federal aid projects that the city probably would not have been prepared for financially. We did one of those through the town of Salix, which is a similar road to D54. We utilized some federal aid money on that. The city ended up with a total of about $55,000 in expense. The board gave them a 10-year loan to repay that at no interest, to pay that local share off. Salix has started to already pay on that. Their portion was taking care of all the ADA accessibility, all the utility issues, and then a portion of the pavement was also theirs.
Is that a comparable size road?
Yeah, it's a very comparable road to what you've got here. They actually have the second oldest pavement in the county that served from the interstate interchange into town over to old Highway 75. And we replaced that whole pavement. That was a $950,000 project. Again, the city's out of pockets about $55,000. We're still tabulating the finals. We just finished that project last summer, and we're working through the final audit on it. We'll have the final figure for the city then. We put 80% of the federal aid can fund up to 80% of a project. Everything that was city portion was 80% federal, 20% city. The county expenses, we were about 50-50 federal and county. We did everything we could to help them out with that. When we get to that point where this pavement is in need of that, we just have to sit down with the city and see how we want to go about doing that project. You will have to bring it up to ADA standards. That expense would all be on the city. If you have storm sewer or anything like that upgraded, that would be up to the city to do. We can incorporate in the project. We do the engineering and the construction inspection for you, but you know that expense would be to the city. Again, with a project agreement, the board has in the past loaned that money to cities to allow the project to move forward. Our next project of that type is going to be with the city of Hornick. They just have decided to participate in the portion of the project on County Road K64 through the center of town. We got a federal aid grant for that for 2021. The city is going to be working to start saving toward their share of that. So the board will probably see a project agreement on that, probably not till 2019, but you know, the city and my department are working ahead, trying to get ahead of that project. Their payment's much worse than yours right now. I did look at that culvert when we were down here doing our job. It's still got some years in it yet. But
so
again,
if anything ever is done on it, it's out of way, so that community could kind of plan for it.
Plan and save for it, yeah. And again, that road, being that you're under 500, is a county road, so we would have a substantial portion of the cost in that, as from our county. It's eligible for the use of county farm to market money. Just don't grow to over 750 in the interim.
More people like these guys move into town. That would be good for the grocer too.
Don't get over 749.
And that's sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say that's a perfect segue into kind of our next focus of growth. You know, growth just for the sake of growth is not a good idea. We want to, you know, ensure that there's a goal, that there's a plan, and so that's why the county has partially funded, you know, comprehensive plans for all the rural communities that don't have one and would like one. And this really opens, you know, you up to different opportunities, whether they be grants or just having community input sessions that are really critical before, you know, coming to the board and saying we have an idea for the local option sales tax dollars. And we want to be sure that, you know, those are spent in an equitable way, but also a targeted way that makes sense. And obviously we have 14 communities and we have a limited amount of funds. So I think the comprehensive plan process was a good thing the board did. They're still underway. But I want to introduce another aspect. Really, what do you do when those comprehensive plans give you your priorities? How do you go about that as a small community without, you know, a ton of staff? So I'd like to introduce Michelle with Simcoe. She's going to talk to us about the services that Simcoe offers. It's optional. The county has decided to subsidize the cost if you'd like to join Simcoe, and you know that's relevant because they have a menu of services, so to speak, that Michelle can go over with you.
All right. Well, thanks for having me. Sorry I snuck in here late. I was actually at a city council meeting in Mobile. To get from Mobile down to here, there's lots of construction. I should have talked to Mark about my route and sitting behind a pilot car. So anyhow, so I apologize. I snuck in here late. Yeah, Simcoe, I guess for those of you who don't know what Simcoe is, we're a council of governments. We've been around since 1965. Our members are cities and counties. So just like a chamber of commerce has businesses pays dues and you're part of a chamber, we're kind of like that, but we're our members are cities and counties and you pay us dues and you're part of our the Simcoe membership. Our funding basically comes from several different sources. One is membership dues from our communities, and those are based on, it's like a 250 base, and then it's based on population after that. So every community has a little bit of different dues. And the dues go to match different federal dollars. So one of our federal programs that we use the dues to match is through the U.S. EDA, Economic Development Administration. And then the other set is really through transportation. So our funds come from the Iowa DOT, who gets them from federal highway, who gets them from federal transit, kind of all comes down the line. And with those dues, with the transportation dues and the money from EDA, we're then able to provide you services. There's a lot of services we offer that aren't part of anything else beyond your dues. So that can be planning some regional economic development planning studies. Right now we have a group called our SEDS group, our Comprehensive Economic Development Strategies group, and they're working on some regional economic development plans. We can help with grant writing, technical assistance, we can do community surveys, data. A lot of times we just have our communities call us and want information on different data. And we also work with state and federal legislative issues. So we're able to provide a voice to our members, to senators, representatives at the federal and the state level to let them know what your concerns are and what the issues are. Also on the transportation side, kind of the same thing. We do a lot of data, technical assistance, grant writing. Trails are really huge right now. You can talk to Lawton. Lots of trails going on in Lawton. We've helped them with a few grants with that. Any project planning, a lot of times we're working at the county level. I should have known that that road was under construction because we work with Mark all the time on getting those programmed. Just kind of bicycle and pedestrian safe routes to school, those are really important right now. Other services we offer are an additional fee over your membership dues, but we offer them at a discounted rate. So that might be updating the city's code, zoning ordinances, housing needs assessments. A lot of you are working on your comprehensive plans, but we also do that. We can help with land use planning, mapping, zoning maps, land use maps, basically any kind of maps that you want. Cost benefit studies. We help with some community marketing, planning and zoning assistance, annual budgets. We can help with clerk services, strategic plannings for a community, urban revitalization plans, tax abatement programs. Those are all things that we can offer the communities, which are different than a lot of consultants that will come in and help communities as well. We like to say we can offer those services consultants offer, but we're also a little bit different than that because your membership to SIMCO gets you a seat at the SIMCO table, and you're investing into the region. You're able to make decisions at a regional level, so you get to be able to have a voice of what's going on in the region. There's a lot of regional issues that come up, and we all need to work together to work through those, and so SIMCO provides that forum to do that. I think, unless anyone has any question, unless you guys can think of anything I'm missing.
Well, I would just say that, you know, as the representative of the board to the SIMCO board, you know, they do good work. It's, you know, a lot of the dollars for what they do are federal dollars that we need to, you know, make use of. I think it makes sense. And so when our county board looked at the 50% match that we provide for membership, we saw, you know, over the last fiscal year, multiples. I think it was almost 10 times the value we got back in direct and indirect services. That may just be follow-up, that may be actual grant writing, and maybe, you know, something, you know, specific or just general. And so if you know, realize it's 50%, that means you can get the same, you know, payment back, you know, outsized payment back for your dues if you have use for it. And so it's just an option that I think is good for us to get out there. So.
Yeah, I like to say, you know, we're an extension of the staff, so city staff, if anyone needs help, needs additional help, we can help with that. Once you get your comprehensive plans done, and you have a list now of projects and priorities that you need to start working on, and don't let that plan just sit there on the shelf and collect dust. Let's start implementing it, and SIMCO can help get that done. A lot of these grants and other things you work on you can't do unless you have those kind of studies. They won't even consider them unless you've done some sort of priority and project planning. So we're there to help you do that and kind of get through all that red tape and process that's out there.
Very good. Any thoughts on that? Any testimonials? Any thoughts on growth strategy? What have you found in your community? What have you experienced being on the outskirts of Woodbury County? And everything's going swimmingly.
Well,
yeah, David.
So I've spent some time out here with folks and talking about their issues and their challenges and barriers to growth. And I would say that you know, the trend in rural America right now is unfortunately population decline. You know, younger adults just aren't choosing to farm, and they're choosing to move to cities and more urban areas. In addition to that, there also seems to be another trend as it relates to housing. There's an aging housing inventory, and there's a lack of housing opportunities. The lack of housing, though, is really a trend that's kind of seen right now in our tri-state area. pretty predominantly, not only in the rural communities, but in the cities as well, and across the state of Iowa. One of the things that I think we can do a little bit better is try to market ourselves to attract new families to our communities, to Woodbury County. We just recently received the Home Base Iowa designation from the state of Iowa, and the Home Base Iowa program is basically a veteran workforce recruitment strategy. So we believe that veterans and military servicemen and women have skill sets that are that complement the sort of work ethic that Midwesterners are known for. And we believe that the state of Iowa, the legislature, has enacted some tax incentives to help recruit veterans from out of state to Iowa. And to become a home-based Iowa community, it requires a certain number of businesses within that jurisdiction. So in Woodbury County, we had to have 10% of our companies say that they would hire a veteran if they were to apply, if they met their criteria for employment. And it also requires local governments to come up with an incentive to try to help entice veterans to move to the area. And what we could do here, like in Danbury, for example, I know you have some housing lots available. And what you could do, one idea would be to try to incentivize veterans and their families to move to your community. What might be to help offset their home ownership. Like help them give like a grant to pay for their down payment, some sort of percentage or dollar amount for a down payment on a house, or give them a break on the cost of the lot, and help encourage them to build a new house. In addition to help identify some employers in the community that would be willing to hire somebody and bring that sort of family to your community. I know obviously with new families there's kind of an issue here in town with lack of child care providers, but it's definitely something that we could work on together, and maybe we could look at identifying some businesses in the community, work with the city council and other businesses to identify some local incentives that we could offer and put that on our website. And what it also does is with the local businesses that sign up for that, their information goes into a database that the state uses. So when the state sends out information to military bases across the country, candidates or applicants that are looking for a job can type in their information, and then the skill sets or the types of jobs that they're looking for will match them up with potential employers or potential communities where they can live. So that it's something that Governor Branstad was pretty passionate about, and fortunately Governor Kim Reynolds is still continuing to support it. So we just recently achieved that designation. Tonight, Supervisor was at a Support Slain Soldiers event, and we presented them with a framed resolution thanking them for their partnership and helping us with this initiative. And so that's a good program. Supervisor Taylor, do you have a comment?
Yeah, thank you very much. Can that be on a tax basis as well as far as those incentives, so it wouldn't have to be a cash outlay?
Yeah, I mean, it could be whatever you want.
Like if somebody builds, they could be the first 2 to 3 years where there'd be 50% of the tax. That way it wouldn't have to be necessarily a direct assistance on a down payment or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it could be something as simple as, we're going to offer you certain discounts at our restaurants or retail stores, or things to just help get people to come and check out your community. So that's an idea. One of the trends that I've also noticed in our rural Woodbury County is that there seems to be a trend of a lot of new business starts in the county have been with young women, young mothers starting their own businesses. And I kind of did some digging into like why is businesses out in the county for the last couple of years been women, and it's because their husbands are out farming and they're out working, which may be the reason why we have a shortage in child care providers, because and we have a lot of young professionals in rural Woodbury County that are also women. And one of the things that I think we could do would be to help create more of a supportive environment for entrepreneurs and young professionals. And we've got gals like Stephanie here in town with the Blue Jay Boutique, Carrie Castins out in Odo with Lefty Lee's, trying to think, Katie in Mobile with Katie and Company Furniture, Stacy in Correctionville with Heartland Coffee and Nosh. And so there's a lot of cool businesses, a lot of cool business ideas, younger new business ideas happening in rural Woodbury County. What I'm trying to do right now is work with these ladies to help get them some exposure and get some networking opportunities going. There's a really cool entrepreneurial scene going on in Sioux City right now with younger professionals, and I want to try to replicate something like what's happening in Sioux City with networking opportunities out in rural Woodbury County. And so I'm working with those business owners that I just mentioned, and they're going to give a presentation at a conference in Sioux City on rural entrepreneurship. So I think that's pretty cool. It's something I think that we can do, and I think that it helps create more, there's some glue, I think, that, you know, young professionals, younger men and women with families and businesses can kind of, you know, hook up and meet and share ideas. And so I think that's something that we could do.
David, I'm going to interrupt you. We got about 10 minutes.
Okay.
Sorry, before some of us need to get going. So I do want to, you know, make sure that if you had a question or a thought, that you were able to voice it to the board. And so we're, you know, at the point where we are discussing, you know, rural services. If you had a miscellaneous question or even a curiosity, feel free to give your feedback to us.
David, where are we at?
So you guys are actually next in the queue, and so that should be starting hopefully before the end of this calendar year. One of the issues that we've been having that has put us back a little bit is with the cities that are engaged in that process right now is getting people to come and participate in that public input process. So when you guys do your comprehensive plan, it's really important. Like, you have a good turnout tonight. I hope that you really engage your community and get people to show up to these meetings, because your comprehensive plan, we're going to talk about what do you want, what do you think your growth opportunities are, and what sort of community projects would you like to see. And we need to identify those projects and really build some consensus and support around them. So I'll be working with Doug to start scheduling the collecting of information to get it to the consultants so they can start getting prepared to come in and working with you guys.
Well, I think we talked about like the advertisement of it, basically, and how to reach out to more people.
As far as like
I mean, to me, I guess, I know Facebook is a huge thing. A lot of people have Facebook. I think if it would have been, if we would have had like a Danbury Facebook page type of thing to be able to announce even to the younger, because there's not many younger, you know, 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds here tonight that should probably be here, that need to voice their opinions, because they're going to be here. But I feel like that's like the only outlet that they know to look at. They don't look at the newspaper, you know, they look at Facebook.
Yeah.
And I feel, I don't know, if we could get something, I guess, going on that, just to reach out to more younger generations to get involved.
It's a really important point, and online marketing is definitely the probably most preferred platform for young people would be social media or online marketing. So I could work with you guys on doing something like that. You know, we can create some social media accounts. We can create a new website. I do think marketing is extremely important, especially like if you were going to try to advertise your community to someone from the outside. You want to put your best foot forward, have nice pictures, you know, and promote your assets. So, but that's you're exactly right.
Anyone else?
I smell chicken back here.
We were just about to stun there, you.
Sorry.
All right, well, I'll just say, you know, if you have any thoughts that you wanted to bring up but couldn't, please get in contact with us. All of our information is very public, as you know. You know, I'd say transparency is not just a buzzword, or at least it should not be. It's an ethic, it's a method of practice, and it's something that we've tried to emphasize, especially in the last few years, and put a new face on the county board, put a new face on outreach and sustainable planning, and a lot of that homework that was mentioned tonight. Some of the more boring stuff that we can't speak fluently about that goes on, and we know that it's for meetings like this that we really enjoy hearing from you. So, sir.
What about resurfacing the blacktop south of town to the county line? Blacktop. I don't know if it's 54 or 37.
It's probably not 55.
I think the horrible part of being chair is that I have to cut people off. And, it's something you can address with our engineer. He's more than willing to talk to you. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.